Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Storin. I'm the proud owner of Storin Financial. And just like last year, I couldn't be more excited to bring on Ed Slott today. Ed's America's IRA expert, and we're just incredibly fortunate to have his knowledge and wisdom shared with us today. We have over 400 individuals that are registered for this call. So I really appreciate those 400 folks that are coming out. They're engaged clients, engaged individuals that want to learn more about their retirement plan, and they want to understand the rules and regulations so that they can keep more of their hard-earned retirement as opposed to giving it over to the federal government. So today, one thing I'd encourage you is have a pen and a pad of paper and a cup of coffee, tea, drink of choice, and be sure to write down any comments or thoughts that are applicable to you that you think that, or questions you might have, because we will be able to email questions to us and we'll be happy to respond after the video call today. So I just recently got back from Kansas City, Missouri. So we go see Ed and his IRA technicians twice a year to get caught up on current IRA code, tax laws that are going to change, and so on and so forth. It was a great two-day event. We learned a lot of information. But one of the things that I always hear Ed say is that taxes are the single biggest factor that can separate clients from their retirement dreams. And we find that to be incredibly true. One of the things at Storin that we work on diligently is understanding tax code by doing taxes and understanding IRA code and combining the two to minimize what clients will pay to the federal government and state government. And we try to help them to keep as much as they possibly can. And I think clients find a lot of value in that. And I have to say that I've learned the majority of that from my man, Ed Slott. Ed's focused on that with me for 18 years. He teaches that, and I really take it to heart to bring it home to my clients. So two things I want you to focus on today or listen for. One is Roth conversion conversation. So Ed will talk about Roth conversion, tax-free IRAs, and how you get there and the benefits of that. Pay attention to that. Take notes. The second thing is if you're 70 and a half or close to being 70 and a half, you want to listen for what we call qualified charitable distributions. Ed will talk about QCDs or qualified charitable distributions and how impactful they can be to a quality distribution plan. Okay, with that said, then I'm going to bring on Ed Slott. Ed, go ahead and jump on the call.
Yeah, here I am. Great to be with you. And I was just with you last week. You said 2 days. You were there for 3 days, maybe even 4 if you count travel time.
Yep, we had a great 2-day, 3-day class, and there's over 400 advisors there. So, you know, I only now listen from the IRA technicians and you, but I get to talk to so many other advisors that have great experiences and knowledge and share ideas, and it's invaluable, Ed.
Well, it's good. And like you said, you've been training with us for over 18 years. It's unbelievable, the commitment to education. And it's important people know that, because as we always say in the meetings, you know, we come to these meetings, Greg, I'm always thinking, you're probably thinking the same thing. How could another advisor that doesn't have this level of knowledge do the job for their clients? So much would have to be missing. It's like a guy fixing your car that doesn't know anything about cars other than puts gas in.
Right. You know, we want to be one of those firms. We focus on education and we want to educate our clients so they're knowledgeable and they understand, but we don't want to make the mistakes that other people make. And it's all about education.
One of the things we learn at these programs, we learn from other people's mistakes. You know that saying, learn from your mistakes? I always thought it was a kind of a dumb saying. Isn't it better to learn from other people's mistakes? A lot less expensive. And we saw some real horror stories there. These are actual cases, things that happen to real people, just like the people watching now, where you could lose chunks of your retirement savings by blowing one little rule.
Well, we read those court cases and we go through all those court cases, and you wouldn't believe some of them if they weren't in court documents and records. So it's like you had that couple that lost $300,000 in taxes over the Bitcoin, the gold and silver situation.
Gold, yeah, that was a big story in the Wall Street Journal. Why? Because they got their information on a website online, bet their entire life savings on it and lost it. Then fought it in court and lost there too.
Yeah, yeah, it's unfortunate. Well, thanks so much, Ed, and you take it over, and we really appreciate this.
Oh yeah, here we go. What if I told you taxes were optional? Would you say, oh, sign me up for that? Well, I'm not saying all taxes are optional, but paying excessive taxes is totally optional. Most people do it though. And you're probably telling me, well, who would sign up for that? Almost everybody. And you might say, well, why would anybody do that? It's easy because they do nothing. The point here, and what you're going to learn, and what Greg has learned here, is you want your plan, not the government plan. So when I say that at programs, people always come up and say, Ed, what is the government plan? Oh, that's easy. That's doing absolutely nothing and let it all happen to you on Uncle Sam's plan, where you're out of control. And most people sign up for that, not knowingly, by doing nothing and letting it all happen, or not having an advisor that knows the intricacies of these planning. You can create a plan to have more, keep more, and make it last. And that's the focus here, to keep more of your hard-earned money so you can have a better retirement and leave more to your loved ones after death. Who doesn't want that? But you have to make it happen, and you need a plan. Most people don't have a plan, but you're okay. You're in good hands with Greg Storin. And right now, I'm going to give you some tips on how to have more, keep more, and make it last. And the first thing is to understand the problem, because why would you care about a solution if you didn't think you had a problem? I'm telling you, it's a problem. That's why I named my book, The New Retirement Savings Time Bomb. What's the tax time bomb? It's all the taxes building up in your hard-earned savings, your IRAs and 401ks and 403bs. What do they have in common? They're a big growing debt right back to Uncle Sam. Most people don't realize that their IRA is owned partially by the IRS. Let me put it to you this way. Are you happy knowing you have a joint account with Uncle Sam? There's no need for it. Well, I don't even know if you know this. He's not even your real uncle. So there's no need to share more than you have to. But here's the problem. We were all taught wrong. At least I know I was when I first started in school. Well, when I started, maybe like many of you, when I started, I was 5 years old and they had something called kindergarten. Maybe you can relate to that. Today, they have like 10 levels below that. You can go, if you're a grandparent like me, you can go to 10 graduations before the kid even turns 5 years old. You know what I mean? Anyway, when I first started school in kindergarten, we were taught wrong. We were taught to share. Well, that sounds good. That's okay for your toys, your crayons, and your snacks, but not your money. Why are you oversharing your hard-earned savings with Uncle Sam? Because you don't know any better. You haven't heard the difference. So let me tell you the difference. The first difference is between tax deferred and tax free. Now, I'm going to give you several of my always rules throughout the program, and these are important because these are non-negotiable, always true. Why do I give you my always rules? Because there's so much nonsense out there, whether it's the internet, people on TV, talking heads. Sometimes that's me too, by the way, talking heads. But, a lot of times they don't want to give you direct advice. They're wishy-washy. They say, well, I don't know. It could be, maybe, probably. Who knows? It depends. I'm telling you, there are certain rules that are always true. Here's my first always rule. Tax-free is always better. That is non-negotiable. Means you keep 100% of your hard-earned retirement savings. No sharing ever again with Uncle Sam. No reason to. And just so you know, I may as well say this up front. I'm not anti-tax or anti-government or anything like that. I'm in the old Arthur Godfrey school. You may remember his name as the old entertainer from the 50s and 60s. He said, I'm proud to be an American paying taxes. The only thing is, I could be just as proud for half the money. That's all I'm saying. How about you? It's possible if you have the right plan. Tax-free, never forget that, is always better. You keep 100% of your money. But here's the problem. Most people's retirement accounts are not tax-free. It looks good. You have an IRA, it's growing and it's growing. The stock market's up or down, but over time it goes up. And you think you have a lot of money, but I'm here to tell you, whatever the stock market gives you, the tax man can take away, especially if it's in an IRA or 401k, because these accounts have not yet been taxed. That's why they call them tax deferred. So the first thing you have to know is the difference. I think some of you know this already, but it's a good point to emphasize it so you understand the problem. The difference between tax deferred and tax free. Tax deferred, and the big difference here, and it is a big difference depending on the tax rates, but that huge difference in how much of your retirement savings you get to keep is based on one little three-letter word: yet. Y-E-T. Tax deferred means you won't pay taxes on this money yet, but you will at some future time, probably at a higher balance, probably at higher future tax rates, leaving you with less when you'll need it the most, as opposed to tax-free, which means you'll never pay taxes on that money. Now you see what I mean? Tax-free is always better, but most of the money is in tax deferred. The big problem with tax deferred is that, yeah, it's growing, but it's partially growing for the government. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to show you something here if I can on the screen. Let's see. This is one of those, let's see if I have it up here. Oh, well, before I do that, I'm going to show you this actually. If you wonder how bad can taxes get, and this is what I'm worried about. I'm worried about future higher taxes. Right now, tax rates are the lowest they will ever be, probably in your lifetime. If you see, I gave you on the screen here the complete history of tax rates from 1913 to the current, and you'll see we're in the lowest rates you may ever see in your lifetime. But look at the part I have highlighted. 1946 to 1964. Those are the years people like me and probably many of you were born, the baby boomers. If you notice, the top federal tax rate for each of those years, 1946 to 1964, exceeded 90, that's 90. That's why I wanted to show it to you, because you have to see it to believe it. Exceeded 90%, except for the last year, 1964. That was the year the Beatles came to America, and everybody was so happy they lowered the top federal tax rate to only 77%. Mark Twain had a saying, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes, or another way to say that, those who don't learn from history are bound to repeat it. So the biggest risk to your retirement savings, you have the tax risk, the risk of future higher taxes consuming more of your retirement savings, leaving you with less, and of course, investment risk. So this is what we're attacking. That's why I want to attack this right now. So you see the history of tax rates. And that means you could have less when you need it the most, and nobody wants any of that. So what do? Well, part of the problem is people don't realize the long-term solution, or don't see the benefit of long-term planning. Let me show you something else. And this is the thing I was talking about before. Let's bring this up. This is a would you rather kind of thing. I call it the power of compounding. Albert Einstein once said, and everybody has probably heard this, he said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Yes, when it's working for you. But let me throw out a question here. I know I can't see you answer, but just a kind of interesting. Would you rather, this is one of those would you rather, like I said before, have $1 million. Now, I'm not offering this to you today, and neither is Greg, but this is just, hypothetical. Would you rather have $1 million right now, today, in cold hard cash in your hand, or would you rather have a penny, but it would be a magic penny that doubles every day, but only for 30 days. So the second day, you're already up to 2 cents, then 4 cents, then 8 cents. When I give this example in most programs, a third of the room gets the answer wrong. The answer is the penny, because of compounding. How can that be possible? Well, look what happens after 30 days. After the first 10 days, the penny's only worth $5. Even after the next 10 days, at day 20, only 5,000, nowhere near $1 million. But watch what happens. The power of compounding, the snowballing in the later periods, those last 10 days, over $5 million. That's the power of compounding. But let's look at that saying again by Einstein. Most people know the first part, but not many people are aware of the second part. And that's what I want to focus on. He said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. The second part says, he who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. What is he talking about? Einstein is saying there that compounding doesn't discriminate. Yeah, it's great when it's working for you and you have money in the bank and it's the interest is compounding. But if you owe money, the same compounding works against you. Ask anyone that hasn't paid a credit card bill in a few months. They know what compounding is when it works against you. So when you owe money, it works against you. So what has this got to do with your IRAs? Well, I said your IRA is a growing compounding debt. Let me put it another way. I know you can't see me again, but how many of you, I always ask this to groups of programs, how many of you believe you're debt-free? And most people in retirement raise their hands, and it's good to be debt-free. That's what you should shoot for in retirement, to be debt-free. And most people raise their hands, and then I'll call on somebody and I'll say, why do you think you're debt-free? And they'll say the average things. Well, I paid off my house, so I don't have a mortgage. I don't have any credit card debt, and I don't owe anybody any money, so I'm debt-free. Not if you have an IRA. Not if you have a 401k. Not if you have a 403b. These are tax-deferred accounts. These are growing, building debts to Uncle Sam that will have to be paid. And every day that goes by, that compounding, snowballing debt grows. Again, the important part here, leaving you with less when you'll need it the most. So what do we do about it? Well, the biggest threat that I'm worried about, those tax rates. What if tax rates come back? I don't think they'll go to 90%, but look at the math. The biggest threat to your retirement savings right now is a 4-letter word. Nope, it's not kids. Everybody knows that's a lousy investment. Where's the payoff there? You know, it used to be the American dream was to own your own home. Now it's getting the kids out of it. No, the 4-letter word that's the biggest threat to your retirement savings is math. I just told you. I'm worried about the growing deficits and debts. The math, as an accountant, I tell you, the math doesn't add up. The whole country is running on a credit card bill. At some point, they're going to have to jack the rates up and leave you holding the bag. You'll be left in the soup. Who is it going to affect most? The people that have most of their money that has not yet been taxed. IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, tax deferred accounts are a sitting duck. They're the low-hanging fruit for Congress because we made that deal with the devil, so to speak, years ago. We got a tax deduction up front, but the deal was we would pay it back when we were in a lower bracket in retirement. That is unlikely to happen given the math. And giving the growing of balances in IRAs and 401ks that could be hit with larger rates. So what's the solution? That's the problem. The big tax time bomb, I call it, that ticking tax time bomb. Say that 3 times fast. Well, the solution is moving your money from accounts that are forever taxed to never taxed, like Greg was talking about earlier. One way to do that is with Roth IRAs. Roth IRAs are tax-free accounts. And remember, I told you tax-free is always better. You keep 100% of your money. You can move your IRA to a Roth IRA. Well, why wouldn't everybody do that? And then it'll all be tax-free. Because there's a catch. And that's what stops people from making good plans. The catch is to move your IRA to a Roth IRA, you have to pay the tax. Nobody likes paying taxes up front. In fact, as a CPA, most accountants like me were trained from the first day we're in college. We were hardwired to never let a person pay a tax, never let a client pay a tax before they had to. We were always taught, defer, 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 put it off. In fact, if when you were a kid and your mother told you to do something and you said, not now, Ma, I'll do it later, you would have become an accountant because you were taught to defer, to put things off. But when the Roth IRA came out, I became a recovering accountant because I saw the benefit of paying some tax now to have more that you don't have to share with the government later on when you'll need it most. Here's the secret behind the fundamental principle behind all good tax planning. Always pay, and this is my next always rule, after all, tax-free is always better, always pay taxes at the lowest rates. In other words, I'm saying buy the tax rate when it's low, like a stock, buy low and sell high. Now, I didn't make that one up, but that's a good one too. Write that down. You're buying the tax rate. The old comedian Henny Youngman said it best. He didn't even realize how brilliant he was. He said, this was 60 years ago, he said, I'm putting all my money in taxes. The only thing sure to go up. He was right. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So here's the secret. Now, this is just between us, me, you, Greg, and everybody you know on the internet. So can I trust you to keep this secret that will give you more when you'll need it most? You know Benjamin Franklin, one of our founding fathers, you know him from the $100 bill. Oh, not so much. Maybe we can fix that. Benjamin Franklin said 3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. Here's the secret. 3 words. Pay taxes now. You might be looking at me saying, Ed, have you lost it? If I pay taxes now, I have less, not more. You have less temporarily. I'm here to tell you the exact opposite is true. You have to see the long-term big picture. Once you buy Uncle Sam off as a partner on your retirement savings by paying taxes at the lowest rates, which is right now, Uncle Sam is off. You've paid off the mortgage, so to speak, on your IRA or 401k. Now, all the growth for the rest of your life and even maybe 10 years after that to your family, all tax-free if it's in the Roth. Now, I wouldn't just jump on the Roth boat. This is why you need somebody like Greg to do the projections for you to make sure it's right for you. Not everything I say is right for everybody. I think a moderate approach is probably the best idea. Over time, do a series of smaller annual conversions. Over time, you take down that growing compounding debt to the IRS in your IRA, and you build up tax-free where you don't have to share with the government. So over your time, the more money you have in tax-free, obviously, the more of that you'll get to keep. Doesn't matter what tax rates are. In fact, when tax rates go higher, which I expect they will, anything tax-free becomes immediately more valuable. So the Roth IRA decision to convert or not to convert is really one giant big bet on where you think the future of tax rates are going. If you went to Las Vegas, and you know the Las Vegas, most people, I hate to say it, lose. Otherwise, they wouldn't have those giant hotels dripping in gold. That's a city built by losers. Think about it. And I think they do it, and I may be wrong. I don't know the intricacies, but I'm told they only have a 1% override. That's all Las Vegas needs to make all that money. What if I told you for one day only, you could go to Las Vegas and the odds are not only 1% against you, but changed 90% for you in your favor? I think that would be a good bet. That's how I feel about the Roth conversion bet. It's probably 90% chance or better that your rates in your retirement are going to be higher. Because if you do nothing, let's say you don't convert, you say, no, I want to save my money, I'll pay later. Well, if you pay later, the problem doesn't go away. Your IRA still grows and builds and compounds partly for Uncle Sam. You can't ignore the problem. It's like the sign in my dentist's office. She has a sign that says, ignore your teeth and they'll go away. She's right. Ignore this IRA and it'll go away. It'll get eroded by future higher taxes. That's what I'm worried about, the math and the future taxes that will hit you in retirement. Now, Roth conversions, you should know this. Roth conversions are permanent under the tax code. See, here's the tricky part too, why you need an advisor like Greg that has the knowledge, the specialized knowledge in the retirement tax planning. Most advisors do not have this knowledge. That's why he's been training with our educational group for almost 20 years. Most advisors, yes, they can make you money, but when it comes to taxes, it's what you keep that counts. And it comes out to the tax planning. And you have to see what's right for you. So Roth conversions are permanent. If you convert, or when you convert, if you do convert, you will owe the tax, but don't let that deter you from converting. You will owe the tax, even if your financial situation changes later on. But that's why you need to talk to an educated advisor like Greg that can walk you through. We train him. We've been training him for years and years. As I said, he has checklists on who should convert and who should not convert, and see what's right for you. I think you should have, my own personal opinion, something in tax-free territory as a hedge against the uncertainty of what future higher rates could do to your life savings. It's a big bet on the tax rates. And I think it's probably a good bet that if you do nothing, your personal tax rate, even in retirement, could be higher. Now, most people say, how could that be possible? Well, it may not be true for everybody, but I've seen this. I've seen this in my own practice when I was doing more tax returns. People would come in, retired, and say, Ed, how is this possible? I'm in a higher bracket. My income is higher than my best working years. Well, that's because you were a good saver. You had a large IRA. You have these RMDs, remember, required minimum distributions coming out. Plus, you have no more deductions. The kids are out of the house. You don't have a mortgage. All the big deductions are gone. So, of course, your rates are going to be higher for the most part, even though most people think that it should be lower, but it doesn't seem to come out that way. Roth conversions are permanent, as I said, so you really have to do a projection to see what's right for you. Another big benefit, which I love about Roths, first of all, I love everything about Roths because it's tax-free, and I love tax-free. I did it all myself. I don't have any IRAs. All of my IRA money was converted years ago when in 2010, when Congress changed the rules allowing everyone to convert. Roth IRAs have no required minimum distributions during your lifetime. See, this is what I mean. Now you have your plan, not the government plan. If you leave it in an IRA, even if you don't want to take the money out, you're forced to when you hit age 72 with required minimum distributions. Then it's out of your control. Then you have the government plan because the tax law requires you to take funds out of your IRA every year, even if you don't want to. That adds to your income, that adds to the tax bill, and it makes other things more taxable, like maybe Social Security or your Medicare charges. And this will happen every year because now you're on the government plan. So that's why I say I love the Roth IRA because you're in control. You can take it out if you want or not, or leave it to grow for your beneficiaries who can let it grow another 10 years, even under the new tax rules, another 10 years after death, accumulating totally income tax free. But let's say I'm wrong. Let's say you're thinking, what if he's wrong? What if tax rates don't go up? Highly unlikely, but let's say I'm wrong. Here's what I love about the Roth conversion. I always look with most decisions I try to, but especially financial decisions, what's the worst case scenario if I'm wrong? If I'm wrong, the worst case scenario is you've locked in a 0% tax rate on your retirement savings for the rest of your life and beyond. You've locked in a 0% rate. You can't beat a 0% tax rate. That's the consolation prize. That's not too shabby in my book. That's the worst thing that will happen. And you'll probably be really happy about that, knowing when most of your money is in tax-free territory, your current income taxes will also be lower because you paid some taxes now up front to move that money from forever taxed to never taxed. So speak with Greg and see what's right for you. It's different for everybody, but I'm a big fan of the Roth because I love tax-free, because tax-free is always better. That's one way to move from forever taxed to never taxed. Another way is life insurance. Now, just so you know, I'm a CPA, as I said, a tax advisor. I don't sell life insurance. I don't sell stocks, bonds, funds, insurance, annuities, none of that. But as a tax advisor, I have to tell you, the tax exemption, the income tax exemption for life insurance is the single biggest benefit in the tax code and not used nearly enough because people don't understand the tax benefits. So I'm here to tell you about that. Again, it's another way to start stockpiling your money in tax-free territory. But I know how you think because I've done hundreds, if not thousands of these programs, probably thousands over the years to groups just like you. And every time I start to talk about life insurance, I see that look on your face, that look it's like you're telling me life insurance. And then I see that face go, oh boy, life insurance. And you're thinking, what's in it for me? Is that what you're thinking when I talk about life insurance? What's in it for me? I just pay everybody and then I drop dead. What's in it for me? I agree with you. I think the same thing. But you should know that life insurance has lifetime benefits that are benefits you can use during your life. I'm talking about permanent cash value life insurance that can build cash value, almost like a super Roth IRA, where you can get that money out tax-free if you need it in retirement. Most people don't realize there are lifetime benefits. Let me show you what I mean. A man bought his wife a burial plot. The next year, he didn't buy her anything, and she complained. He said, you didn't use the present I got you last year. Unlike that burial plot, life insurance can be used during life as well as after death. There are lifetime benefits. So then when I explain this, some people, and you might be thinking this now too, wait a minute. So in essence, I can take a tax-free advance on my life insurance if I need it, all tax-free. Yes, I have the same thing. I've had it for years. It's a great vehicle. I have the Roth. I love anything tax-free to keep, because I am always worried about future higher taxes cutting into a standard of living. So now you're probably thinking, but Ed, wait, if I take the money, let's say I did need it, and I took out, say, the cash value during my life, won't my kids get less? Who cares about them? You worry too much about them. This is about you. They're going to get plenty. Whatever you do, they are going to get plenty. You don't have to worry about them. That's the problem. You worry too much. This is about you taking care of yourself first. If you don't take care of yourself, you're no good to anyone else anyway. Let me explain. I'm back out live doing programs. Maybe one day I'll come out there and see you all in person. Anyway, the airlines are just as bad as they were before COVID, even worse. You know the airlines motto, we're not happy until you're not happy. Anyway, you get on the plane, they go through the safety instructions and they tell you, if the oxygen mask comes down, first put it on yourself, and then on the children you like the most in that order. Why did they tell you that? The same reason I just told you. If you can't take care of yourself, you're no good to anyone else. The greatest gift you can give to your family is the gift of your own financial security. Nobody wants to hear stories. I hear this all the time from people. Oh, I heard my kids talking, or wondering who's going to take care of mom because she's out of money. Nobody wants to hear this. So this is another way you can move with the life insurance from forever tax to never tax, like with a Roth conversion, if it's right for you. It's not right for everybody. You must talk with insurance professionals. You can talk with Greg about this. He's well-versed. Where you take money down, again, getting that money out of your taxable IRA, that growing, building, compounding, snowballing debt to the government, and you could put it in a Roth or the permanent life insurance policy and start growing your cash value. And if it turns out you don't need the cash value, which happens in most of the cases, then it's a giant tax-free windfall for your children. So everybody wins except Uncle Sam, and that's okay. You don't have to overshare. Remember I told you that? And that's one of the reasons I got it. But I got it for even a bigger reason. I was worried about long-term care. That's the elephant in the room. That's the biggest fear, living too long and running out of money. It's not unusual anymore to see tax returns where people claim over $100,000 of medical bills. These are big ticket items. I had this with my own mother, whether it's nursing homes or home aids, or medical home improvements, fixing up the house with chairlifts, stair lifts, ramps, railings, or kitchen or bathroom modifications, widening doorways and hallways. These are big items. Well, in my permanent life insurance policy, I have a long-term care rider. I don't know if it's available everywhere. That's something you're going to have to speak with Greg about. But I like it because I want to know if I happen to need nursing care or big expenses, the money is there. The last thing I want to do is rely on my kids to take care of it. If I rely on them, who knows where I'll end up. I don't know if they'll have the ability to pay the thousands of dollars a month needed for my care out of their own savings. Let it come from my own life insurance, so they'll get a little less. They'll still end up with more without having to go into their own pockets. I want to know this is taken care of, and you should too. So I have one of these, some people call them a hybrid life insurance policy, or a life insurance policy with a long-term care rider, where if you need the long-term care, in essence, and I'm oversimplifying here, that's why you need to speak with your advisors on this, with Greg, in essence, I have the ability to take an advance on my life insurance to pay long-term care, so it doesn't fall on any of my kids. And so what? They'll get a little less. They'll still end up with plenty. You have to come first. So life insurance is another way, permanent life insurance, to move from forever taxed to never taxed. Now, just before we get to the next risk, which is investment risk, I want to talk a little bit more about why I'm here with Greg. As I've said a few times, Greg has been studying these very complicated tax rules, and they are complicated. They're the most complicated in the code. I don't know why it has to be that way, but that's what Congress does. Every time they meet, it seems this stuff gets worse. And it's always under the guise of saying it's making it better, like the Secure Act. You know, I noticed one thing in 40 years of studying tax law. Whenever Congress names a tax law, you can almost always bet it will do exactly the opposite of what they've called it. So think of the Secure Act. As soon as I heard that name, I said, oh boy, hold on to your wallets. And what they did is they took away this big stretch IRA we used to talk about as planning, leaving an IRA to your kids who could go out and extend it for 50, 60, 80 years for a young grandchild. Not anymore. In fact, what Congress did is they downgraded IRAs as a wealth transfer or estate planning vehicle. They're no good to leave to beneficiaries anymore, because all of that money has to come out in a short window. Even with a Roth IRA, even though it grows tax-free, it has to come out at the end of 10 years after death. To me, though, all Congress did is incentivize all of us to do the better planning we should have been doing all along: Roth IRAs, permanent life insurance. So I love doing these programs for Greg because I know you're in good hands. I know he's been studying these rules and all the tax planning ideas for over 18 years. How many advisors can say that and can say they've been doing it consistently? What Greg is, he's a member of my advanced study group. It's an education group called Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group. And he's been there almost since I started the group, just about the time I started the group. And he's with an elite group of advisors that want to understand how to help you keep more of your money after taxes. And that's why they train with us. If something changes that can affect you, Greg will know about it probably that day. For example, when these last round of IRS regulations on the Secure Act came out, February 23rd, Greg had an email, an alert telling him what to do, who to contact, and what kind of plans may have to change. He's in the loop. This has been going on, like I said, for almost 20 years. So you want that kind of advisor. As I said before, lots of advisors can make you money, but the difference is the advisor that can help you keep more of your hard-earned money. That's what you want. Plus, Greg has access, not that he knows everything, but he knows what he doesn't know. To me, that's what makes an average advisor dangerous. They don't know that they don't know, so that's dangerous. Greg is constantly made aware, his antennas are up, and if he's not sure, one of the big benefits with our educational group is that he has access to me and my team of IRA experts. If he has a question, we're Johnny on the spot. Even if he thinks he knows it, a lot of our advisors around the country call us, they say something like, I think I know the answer, but I want to check to make sure. And usually when that happens with Greg, he's usually right, but it's good to have a sounding board to make sure, because these rules are not only the most complicated in the tax law, as I said before, but lots of these tax rules are rigid and unforgiving. You don't get a lot of second chances. I always say your IRA is like an eggshell. You break it, it's over. So you may only have one chance to get this right. This is your chance. Plus, you have low tax rates now to take advantage of moving that money from forever tax to never tax by paying some taxes now at low rates. Another way you can do that, Greg talked about QCDs, not available to everybody, qualified charitable distributions. For those of you who are charitably inclined, who give to charity anyway, if you qualify, if you're 70 and a half or over and have an IRA, this is the way to give to charity. This is a way that you can get money out of your IRA at zero tax cost and benefit the charity that you were giving the money to anyway. Most people now, due to the recent changes in the tax law, get no tax benefit out of the gifts you're making because most people take the standard deduction. This is a way to get a tax benefit and also get money out of your IRA at the lowest possible tax cost, zero in this case. This is something, if you're interested in, something Greg can help you with. So you're with the right kind of advisor that has built specialized knowledge and has a team behind us. We're essentially his back office. So we talked about the tax risk. The answer to that, moving from forever tax to never tax, getting your plan, not the government plan. You can do that with Roth IRAs. I did that. I did the permanent life insurance, or a combination of both. But what about the investment risk? I'm really worried about this. I'm talking about the stock market. It's crazy. I don't look at it every day, but I'm going to look right now. Let's see what happened today. You never know. It's up 1,000, down 1,000 as we speak, up 400. That's good. Tomorrow it could be down 1,000. Who wants to live like this? By the way, a little trivia today. Today is 230 years since the stock market came about. I saw this somewhere today on the news. 1792, 24 in 1792, today, May 17th, so you know we're really live, May 17th, 1792, 230 years ago today, 24 merchants, they call that, came together at 70 Wall Street in New York and started the New York Stock Exchange. I guess they were the first 24 brokers. So we've come a long way, but now the stock market is a casino. Look, even the Wall Street Journal says it's out of control. There have been some recent articles in the Wall Street Journal calling it a casino. Well, if there's any one publication that is the most pro-stock market, it's the Wall Street Journal, ergo the name Wall Street. But now it's crazy. We have people online. You have cryptocurrency, whatever it is. Crypto is the new subprime. Remember that 10 years ago, in 2008 and 2009, more than 10 years ago. We had the subprime mortgages, collateralized debt obligations, credit default swaps. I still don't know what they are, but anybody who had them lost everything. I don't want to see that happen to you. It's too risky. As you get near or closer to retirement or in retirement, you don't have the years available, sorry to say, to recover from a big loss. I know all the young kids are bragging online. Yeah, I made a fortune in Bitcoin and NFTs and SPACs and all these things. And you know what? Maybe some of them made money, but I'll bet a lot of them lost money. But they have the ability, they have the time horizon. A lot of these people in their 20s, they have many years to recover from that. Oh, and also they have parents to bail them out. You don't. You have to be very careful. So let's just call it what it is. You need to secure your money. Here's my next always rule. In retirement, income is always more important than savings, because savings can run out either through spending or speculation in the market. I'm not saying take all your money out of the market. I still have money in the market, but I have it cushioned. So let's say, and I'm going to tell you how I did it and how you should do it. And again, you speak with Greg, not everything I say is for everyone, but let's call it what it is. The market's a casino. Nobody wants to go day for day and wonder, the market's up, market's down. Oh, I can't eat today. It's down 1,000 points. So let's just call it what it is. It's a casino. So imagine yourself at the casino. You're at the table and the stock market's going up and up, and you're at the table in the casino and you're winning, winning, winning. The chips are going so high, they're over your head. You can't see, they're so high. What would any smart person do at this point? Take your chips off the table, cash them in, and lock in today's gains at the lowest possible tax rates. And then take some of that, not all of that, and put it in guaranteed products. Here I'm talking about annuities. Again, I don't sell these things, but I have them myself. I had them for my own mother, and it was the greatest thing we ever did as a family. Here's another rule of mine. Whatever that number is for you, the number of your base, the number that represents your basic monthly living expenses, the amount of money you need, your money that you need every month, that should be guaranteed. That cannot be risked in the market. And at least for that amount, I would lock in guaranteed income. Take some of those chips off the table, pay the tax, low capital gain rates, lowest rates in history, and lock in guaranteed income with annuities. My mother did that. My father died many, many years ago, but my mother was like, she went into her 90s. She was like the Energizer bunny. Even in her 90s, she was looking for a man, but she couldn't find anybody. She used to complain, I want a date, not a patient. Nobody could keep up with her. She was a real character. But my father, when he died, my mother, not me, had a financial advisor, somebody like Greg that really knew his clients, and he knew my mother would go a long time. And my mother sold the house we grew up in, and he put her in about 4 or 5 of these annuities. Is the best thing that ever happened to our family. My brother and sister are not financial people, so they don't understand the gift that she gave us of her own financial security. Remember what I said? The greatest gift you can give your family is the gift of your own financial security. Or to put it another way, the greatest gift you can give your children is to not move in with them. Those checks that my mother got, they came in every month, no matter how old she got, no matter how sick she got, and no matter how the market performed. She never worried about the stock market. These checks came in all the time, even at the end when she was in the hospital and the nursing home. She used to call me and said, Eddie, go to my mailbox and bring me my checks. She loved feeling the checks and writing out the deposit slips. I never had the heart to tell her, Mom, I didn't use the deposit slips. I did, as soon as I left the hospital, I did mobile deposits for you, the horror. So I never told her that. But she loved feeling those checks and knowing those checks were in the bank, came in the mail every month. To me, that's the epitome of financial security. So there's something to be said for that. Those checks come in every month. Nobody wants to worry about these things. People want to be happy. Now I'm going to sound like a DJ. Let me take you back to 1972. That's the year I graduated high school. That's also the year I just saw Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the actor, turned 50, just turned 50. I wonder if he was a big baby, The Rock. Was he just a pebble then? But that's also the year, one of the best-selling books, 1972, you might recall, was a book called The Joy of Sex. Well, I propose a new book now, The Joy of Income. You know why? because I found that people who have guaranteed income, they're just happier people. They don't worry about anything, just like my mother. You could have, actually, you could have both. If you have the joy of income, you can have the joy of sex. It all goes together. People that don't worry are happier people. So think about it. Think about getting guaranteed income. Speak with Greg to see if it's right for you. Everything I said is not for everybody, but I want you to hedge your bets. Now, for example, the only thing better than guaranteed income for life is what I have. Now you're saying, Ed, what do you have? I combine the strategies. The only thing better than guaranteed income for life is guaranteed tax-free income for life. How did I do that? I combine the strategies. I have those annuities in my Roth IRA. Now, I have a stock account in my Roth IRA. I'm still in the market. I'm not saying to get out of it because I too want the upside, but I have the annuities there as a cushion, a guardrail, a safeguard against the downside risk. And if I ever needed to draw on those annuities, they would come out not only guaranteed, but tax-free because they're in a Roth. So everything I'm telling you, I did for myself and my own mother, and I want it to happen for you. You can have your plan so you don't get the government plan, but you have to do something about it. You know, you can't procrastinate. JFK once said, the time to repair a leaky roof is when the sun is out. Well, the sun is out today. It may not be out, you know, metaphorically speaking, but what I mean is you have a favorable tax environment. You have taxes at the lowest possible rates. This is the prime time to do the kind of planning I'm talking about, moving from forever tax to never tax so you can keep more of your hard-earned savings, having more, keeping more, and making it last for your lifetime and beyond. If you were going on a trip, a car trip, let's say, and the check engine light went on, wouldn't you stop and do something about it? The engine can seize. I'm telling you, I'm worried. I see the check engine light flashing bright red on your retirement savings, your IRAs and 401ks, that growing, building, snowballing, compounding debt to IRS in the future of possible higher tax rates. I don't want you to get caught in that. Don't ignore the problem. You know, you can't bury your head under the rug and think the problem won't go away. That reminds me of another Henny Youngman saying. He said, when I read about the evils of drinking, I gave up reading. No, you can't make believe like it doesn't happen. You know, you have the opportunity now to take care of this. I saw it in my own family. In fact, at the end, when my mother died, I was there with her at the end. Actually, she died, believe it or not, at her cardiologist's office. We knew it was the end. We had a feeling it might be that day, but she was there. And at the very end, I was there with my brother. And I guess the nurse was nervous, didn't know, wanted to say some things to comfort her. And she said to my mother, Bev, are you okay financially? I'm thinking there's like 2 minutes to go. You're asking that now? But my mother looked over and said, I'm fine. Eddie took care of everything. And then she was gone. But it wasn't me that did all these things. It was a great advisor she had, like you have in Greg's store and right there. Don't wait for the 2-minute warning. Don't wait for the 2-minute warning to get this done. You have the ability to get it done now. The great football coach, Vince Lombardi, once said the Green Bay Packers never lost a football game. We just ran out of time. I don't want you to run out of time. General Douglas MacArthur said every military failure can be summarized in 2 words: too late. Don't let it be too late for you. You have the opportunity of a lifetime with this program, this fantastic program that Greg is putting on for you now, to take advantage of these strategies. And he can dig in deeper with you on your own personal facts and circumstances. So everything is customized to get you what you need. But think about my always rules. Tax-free is always better. I believe that's where most people should end up, so they don't have to fork over more money in taxes than necessary. That's why I said when I first opened, taxes, certain taxes are optional. You may find that a lot of taxes you're paying are optional. You can get rid of them, by the secret, paying some taxes now and having more later. Everybody complains about taxes. It's always the way in America. You can complain about taxes or do something about them. It always comes down to this: the more you plan, the more you keep. I want you to have more, keep more, and make it last, and enjoy your retirement years without worrying about anything. I want you to have guaranteed income, so you don't have to worry about things. And most of all, I want you to have a healthy and happy retirement with a great advisor and low tax rates. And remember, tax-free is always better. I love tax-free, and so will you. Thank you all very much. And now I'll bring Greg back up to have a little chat with me.
Well, Ed, I guess we'll see you this weekend at the New York Comedy Club, right?
I don't know. I make them up as I never know what comes out. But you know, that thing with my mother, every time I say that, I'm thinking about that. And I'm always reminded of this estate planning attorney that always told me never talk about death or dying at a seminar. And he said, it's too negative. And I said, well, what do you call it? He says, I like to use the phrase when the will matures. I call it what it is, because that's a reality.
It's a time saver. And you did great. We really appreciate it. You know, you talked about, first of all, I'm impressed with your dentist. You know, just ignore your teeth and they'll go away. So very well said.
True. Isn't that true for an IRA?
It's very true.
You can watch it grow. But at that key line, I said, this, whatever the stock market gives you, the tax man can take away.
Yep. Yep. And we focus on distribution strategies. Accumulation is going to happen. Save the money, invest the money, it's going to grow. It's at this point in life, like you said, when clients start talking about distribution and retirement, that's when they've got to get super serious about this strategy and this planning to keep it. You talked about converting in moderation. That makes a lot of sense. I think clients sometimes think it's an all or none strategy. Right. It's not. Most of my clients are converting in pieces. So some large pieces, small pieces, but it's all tailored to what they can afford, what makes sense for them. And obviously, being accountants, we manage with the tax brackets and we strategize in that tax. And that makes, we minimize that and make sure that they're not paying too much. That's key. So I want to say thank you. I'll let you go. I know you're super busy. But
oh, no, I'm here for you. I like what you're doing because I know the lives you're changing financially. And there's a lot to be said, what I talked about before, just to have people that can stop worrying. That's why I said the joy of income. That should be my next book. People that have guaranteed income are always happier. I don't know what it is. My mother had that. Didn't worry.
Yep, I agree. It's nice. It makes a lot of difference. So we appreciate it, Ed. So, and again, thanks so much. And I hope all of our clients, over 400 people registered for this. So again, they got a lot of great information and I can't thank you enough for including me for 18 years and let me learn so much.
Oh, no, I'm proud, but I can't say it enough. People have at this point, that book, they have that series of books, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. You see some of those books. This is the same thing. The advisor that may have got you here that helped you make money may not be the one that can help you keep it. If you lose it all on the way out due to poor tax planning on the back end, what have you did? What have you done? You built a savings account for Uncle Sam. Not necessary.
I had a client tell me that they used an advisor for about 25 years. And when they moved their money, her answer to me was that he has a lane that he stays in. We need to move over to the right side of the road. And she summed it up greatly.
Yeah.
So we helped him with that next phase of life, basically.
Well, I'm proud to be here with you and keep up the great work you're doing for your clients. Thanks, everybody.
We'll do it. Thank you, Ed. And clients, Storin at storinfinancial.com. That's Storin at storinfinancial.com for all your questions, inquiries. Myself, Brian Biggs, or Alex Karanchiko will get back to you and answer your questions. So we hope you enjoyed this. Ed's an all-star. You guys are all-stars for being on this call, and I hope you just learned a bunch. So really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.